So today we are here to talk about breaking generational curses and creating generational wealth. But we ain't here to talk about it in a traditional way. At the end of the day, if you are an asshole to me, I don't care how much generational wealth you create, I don't want it. And at the end of the day, if you think that you can talk crazy to me, you think you could treat me any kind of way, you think that you could show up with all the drama for your mama and say that you're trying to break a generational curse, sir or ma'am, you are the generational curse. Now let's get into it. Hi guys, and welcome to the Shannon Montana YouTube channel. So today I am bringing you a bit of an unexpected message because my plan originally was to just let the Healing is a Journey series play out over the course of the next 10 episodes. But then I thought about it. This is my channel, and if I have something to say, it doesn't matter. It's not really an interruption of the series. It's just different content. And that's what you guys want anyway. We talk about happy and healthy relationships and doing better with those things and how we treat people. So here we are to talk about something that just really came to my mind today based on seeing different things on social media, having conversations with people in real life, and then just, just different real life experiences that I've had over the course of my life that have brought me to a thought today that I feel like it may be the first time you're hearing this message that I want to give today, or it may not. It may be something that's already out there, but I feel like what I'm about to talk about is not something that I've seen a lot of on Beyonce's internet. And so what I am talking about today is that one, if you care about generations to come, if you have care in that area, you probably care about the wealth of those generations, and you probably care about breaking curses of those generations. So something I put on Facebook today, if this goes up today, I'll say something I put on Facebook this week was a message along the lines of generational wealth is more than just money, and breaking generational curses is more than just being the first person in the family to go to college, or the first person to get married, or the first person to have a child that's not out of wedlock. Those are typically, I would say, the stereotypical things that we talk about in Black families when it comes to generational wealth and generational curses. We look at it, generational wealth is about finances most times, and that's it. And then breaking generational curses are about, toxic things that we might have saw in our parents or grandparents, things that we deem toxic that we don't want to see passed down to other generations. Just to be clear about what I'm speaking on. But the thing that I think people do not talk about enough, or I just personally have not heard it talked about enough, is this. When it comes down to generational wealth, you can have all the desires in the world to buy property. You can have all the desires to build big businesses. You can have all the desires in the world to make great investments and to pass those things down to generations to come, or even set up, present day generations that you see right in front of you. But my thing is this. If you do not handle people with care, the ones that are on this earth and the ones that are to come, meaning how you treat people is going to be passed down. If you don't handle people with care, they will care nothing about that generational wealth that you are building, and it will be in vain to some extent. And then the other part of that is when it comes to breaking generational curses, most times generational curses are rooted in past behaviors. Before the generations, as I said before, you've seen a grandmother, an aunt, a mother, things that are certain unproductive or unhealthy behaviors that we just aren't a fan of, or are not conducive to a positive and happy and healthy environment. And we no longer want to see those things exist. But in this instance, if you cannot stop and take a look at yourself and hold yourself accountable to see if you are a part of the problem when it comes to breaking some of those generational curses, then they will never end. So I want to take that angle and talk about both of those topics today. So what it comes down to, before I even dive any further, I want to say, who am I talking to when it comes to this message? So this message is for anybody that has a desire for their family to do better going forward. And that is whether they are speaking about people in front of them or people behind them. So that could be whether it's their children, whether it's a parent, whether it's a sister, brother, niece, an aunt, whoever. It could be the generation in front of you that you're looking at, or the generation behind you. If you have a desire on either side of that for your family to do better in the areas of generational wealth and breaking generational curses, then this message is for you. So that said, number one, I'm just going to kind of go through and very candidly, just share my thoughts on things and what came to me when I was thinking about this stuff and how possibly somebody hearing it could be beneficial. So the first thing is, number one, I think when it comes down to what I mentioned earlier about, and they kind of go hand in hand with some of the things I'm going to say with breaking the generational curses and the generational wealth. So number one, how you treat people and how you make them feel is super important, because my thing is this, at the end of the day, we all know people who have the mindset of, I'm going to say what I want to say, I'm going to say it how I want to say it, and I don't care what anybody has to say about it or how they feel about it. So I'm going to say that again. You have people who feel like, I'm going to say what I want to say, I'm going to say it how I want to say it, and I don't care what anybody has to say about it or how it makes them feel. So think about that. If you are in a situation where you want to break generational curses or even build generational wealth that people can appreciate, but you are of the mindset where you are going to say what you want to say, which you have the right to do. You can absolutely say what you want to say. And then you're going to say it how you want to say it. You also have the right to do that. And then you say, I don't really care what anybody has to say about it or how anybody feels about it. You have the right to do it that way and to feel that way. Hashtag, however, if you choose to go about doing things that way, I feel like that is not really the most productive way to interact with family members, to interact with other people, because in operating in that space, it's almost like you are considering no one around you and how you approach things. You're not being empathetic to how people may receive your message. You aren't trying to give understanding, and most times people are more receptive to things when they have like education to understand why something is happening, and it just doesn't have any compassion within it for people to kind of understand your perspective and go along with it, even if it may not be something that they want to hear. So my thing is not this. It's not saying that you got to walk around and sugarcoat everything and fill it with rainbows and sunshine. But I do think that when you are interacting with people that are your family, because we're talking about generational curses, we're talking about family, you have to consider those things, because honestly, we know sometimes we treat strangers better than we treat our own family. And that's not okay. And I think that at the end of the day, if the first curse that has to be broken is like the mindset. A lot of people were stuck in poverty because of a lot of factors, but mindset was part of it. That's why some people will be forever in poverty, because of mindset. So when it comes to generational wealth, that mindset, and then breaking generational curses, a lot of times behaviors are rooted in, what you've learned and what you saw. And a lot of times our parents or grandparents, they just did exactly what the generation before them did, not really challenging anything. And I think that the millennials, which will be about, I think it's like the 80s, mid 80s to mid 90s. I think the millennials are like one of the first generations and behind us. So with my age group being like in the 30s and the younger generations, I think we are the first generations that are really, placing boundaries, asking people to respect us, asking people to treat us with kindness and with fairness, and not just going along to get along. And that is okay. That is what we need more of in the world. But I think that because we have people who are now more in touch with their feelings than many of our parents and grandparents were, we have people who have more self-awareness. We have some people who want to be more accountable for their actions and the environments that they place themselves in and how they allow people to treat them. Everybody really has to take a step back and think about, how am I impacting these people around me with how I choose to approach them and doing things? And is my behavior conducive to creating the wealth and breaking the curses that I say that I hate? Because my thing is, if you hate some of the unhealthy behaviors that you've seen or dislike, if you strongly dislike some of the behaviors that you've seen in your family, or you strongly dislike, some of the things that were done to you growing up, or you strongly just dislike the space or place that your family may be in, it's up to every single individual to take a look at that evaluate how they operate in the space, let go of past behaviors, attitudes, the way you always did things, and try to do something different. Because if not, to be honest, you are a part of the problem, and you will continue to carry along that generational curse if you make a conscious decision to just say, I am who I am, I'm gonna do what I do, and you just gotta deal with it, take it or leave it. Like, who wants to function and be in relationship with people like that? And when we're talking about family, we ain't got no choice. Like, we stuck. Like, this is our family. But the thing is, people do have a choice of how they choose to engage with you. People do have a choice of if they want to be around you. People do have a choice if they, want to give you their energy. So I think that's another thing, that's self-awareness. If you take a moment to stop and just like look around, and you realize that, a lot of times if there's a issue or argument or a thing going on in the family, self-evaluate. Are you a part of the problem a lot of times? Are you a person that people don't want to be around? Are you a person that people don't like to call a lot? Are you a person that, when you come in the room, people want to go the other way? Are you a person when you call folks, they scared to answer their phone? All those things require self-awareness for you to take a look at them. And if you desire to have a different outcome, you make the necessary changes. But if you don't give a damn, I guess keep doing what you're doing if it's working for you. But, is it really working for you? Even if you really say, I don't give a damn about the family, is it really working for you? Because I just don't see somebody really being truly fulfilled and happy if they are operating in that space. So I challenge you, take a look at those things, because if you walking around and you talking crazy to people and you treating people crazy and you just don't create a safe or happy or healthy space, why would anybody give a damn about the generational wealth that you're trying to create? Like, I don't even want it. Like, you can keep it. I don't want nothing attached to you. And that's where we are in the world now. I know my generation and others, and everybody's different. Some people might be like, yeah, I still want this money. But a lot of people gonna be like, no, I don't want it. I don't want nothing to do with you or nothing that you're investing in because of your energy right now and how you treat me. And then the other side is like, I don't want nothing to do with you because all these curses and things you say you want to break, and you say how much you love your family, it don't look like it. And that's just where I am with it. And I think more people need to be there as well. So the other thing is like, just remembering that you can single-handedly destroy your family and the desires that you have to see your family flourish with your actions. Because the thing is this, I'll say I have people in my family that I feel like been fighting about shit that happened back in the 80s. If you out here fighting and arguing about something that happened before the people that's now your family was even born, I want you to figure that out. Again, you fighting about something, or you into it with a family member creating toxic environments about something that happened before people that's around now was even born. That don't even make sense. So if you one of them people, and you and auntie or cousin or sister or brother, whoever got some beef from the 80s, you need to let it go. Let it go. Or just don't come around no more, because that don't make no sense. So that said, the next thing is, I feel like acknowledging your part in the problem. And I kind of touched on this just a moment ago, but if you are in a situation where you and insert whatever family member, possibly like always into it, always some drama, always at each other's head, always got to get the last word, always creating an environment where it's you and another person, or it could be multiple people, but y'all make it where it's uncomfortable for everybody. It's frustrating for everybody. People come around because it's family and you got to deal with it, but people get sick and tired of it. Like the constant fighting. It's like, grow up. If you feel like you are in a situation with somebody that if they say something, you got to say something back. If they do something, you got to do something back. If they got an attitude, you got to have an attitude back. I don't play that tit for tat shit in real life. Like, I don't deal with dudes that, even if I go out on a limb and I don't even operate in the space, but if I say like, F you, and you got to say like F you back, I don't deal with people like that. Come up with your own language. If you mad, say what you're going to say, but I don't like a get back spirit. And I think that we see it too many times in Black families. It ain't a person that's gonna watch this episode that can think of somebody right now in their family, probably multiple people, that always got some little beef with each other. And it's like, yeah, you think like that's just your little beef with the other person, but think about how that affects everybody else around you. You know, you saying stuff when y'all get together, y'all into it. We don't know if a fight gonna break out. We don't know if we have to call the police. You in a text message talking crazy. You just make it an uncomfortable environment for everybody. So again, it goes back to, what was that curse you said you wanted to break? What was that shit you was talking about you love your family? What was that business you trying to build that you say you want to leave your legacy on? Don't nobody care about it. Don't nobody care about it because you make people not care about it. And that's where I think a lot of people are with it now, why we have to do something different. You know, I don't care nothing about that generational wealth. And I'm going to do another episode on generational wealth in regards to, you know, you got to look at if you are trying to build generational wealth, if that is a gift of yours. Like somebody said this on Instagram recently, and I so just was like, high five, like that makes perfect sense. If you start an ice cream business and you are passionate about that and you feel like I'm gonna set this up and I'm gonna give it to my kids, your kids might not give a damn about ice cream. So it's like you could set something up like you damn the Kennedys, I guess, and you know, or the Rockefellers or whoever, and you could just hand money along where people don't have to work if they don't want to. But if you setting up a business, like I said, an ice cream business, a real estate business, and you feel like I'm gonna pass this along to my kids, your kids might not give a damn about that. And then the legacy stops right there and then you mad. So it's another episode for another day. But just keep that in mind when it comes to building generational wealth. What you trying to build, who you doing it, what you doing and who you doing it for. Because the people that you think you're doing it for may not care nothing about it, and you can't be mad at that because everybody don't care about generational wealth like that. Some people feel like, you know, I want to live my life, make my money, do what I do. If I happen to come up, great, but I don't want to do what you did. And that's the thing. That's another world we live in where people don't want to do is we not doing exactly what our parents did. The world has changed. The world has evolved. Why wouldn't our thought processes? Why wouldn't our desires? Why wouldn't the things that we want to do? So keep that in mind. And again, that's going to be another episode for another day, but I want to touch on that. So getting back to what I said, you know, those issues just within the family and just understanding that when you are creating drama and you are creating negative energy and you are creating an environment that's just is not fun, it's draining, that people like are afraid or dread coming to, I'm sure your family's sick of it and they sick of you. And with family, you know, you tolerate a lot of things because it's family. You can't get rid of them. You can remove yourself, but then you feel like, you know, well, I'm gonna remove myself. Like you know, it's like you get stuck in between a rock and a hard place. If I do say I love my family and I want to be around them, but I'm apprehensive because I don't know who's gonna act a fool or what somebody gonna do. You know, that's like traumatizing and terrorizing the rest of your family, that we don't even know if we want to come around because we don't know what the energy gonna be like, or we don't know what the attitude is gonna be like. And you see it go on because a lot of times if you have it where, say your mom is like that, somebody, if your mom got more than one child or one, probably one of them kids, a couple of them got an attitude. And then they come and they got an attitude. And if they got kids, the kids might have had the same attitude as them, but it rubs off on the other kids. So it's a trickle down effect. And then it starts rub off on everybody else. We all walking around on eggshells. So again, that goes back to, you ain't breaking no curses. You are perpetuating the curses. And that's what you got to think about. How are my behaviors perpetuating actions that I say I'm sick of seeing? And again, goes far beyond, I'm the first to go to college. Great, good for you. I'm the first to get married. Great, good for you. I'm the first to start my own business. Great, good for you. That's all well, fine, and awesome. But on the other side of that, the underlying issues of breaking generational curses, you come from a family where it's always fighting, it's always drama, it's always toxicity, it's always shaky, it's always something happening. That can really stop. Y'all know it is peaceful families out there. Not saying everybody's 100% peaceful all the time, but it is peaceful people out there, and you can be one of them if you so choose to. So, you know, and I'm not, in me expressing my opinions, I'm not in any way, shape, form, or fashion saying that I'm perfect. I don't get mad, I don't get upset, I don't get involved in drama in any capacity. Everybody does at some point or another. But it's like, how much are you involved in it? Because I know for me, I just try to operate in spaces I mentioned earlier, when I'm talking to people, when I'm interacting with people, when I have to deal with people, I'm always going to come from a place of empathy, understanding, and compassion. That's like my thing. You know, I want to be sure that it's important to me that if I'm delivering a message to somebody or I'm talking to somebody, that I don't make them feel bad at any point or try to hurt their feelings. I'm gonna say try to or hurt their feelings. I'm gonna try my best not to make them feel bad. Try my best not to hurt their feelings if I'm having to deliver some adverse information, because it goes back to I treat people how I would want them to. I handle people how I would want them to handle me. And that's the old saying, treat people how you want to be treated. Well, some people might not care about how they treated, I guess, because I could say the goal when I hear that people say treat people how you want to be treated, you think like, well, treat people nice so they can treat you nice. I guess some people don't care about being treated nice, but I do. And I think that most people do. So even if you don't care about being treated nice, think about how the person on the receiving end could benefit from you being nice to them. And it's all about, I'm not saying any of it's easy. I'm about to get into another subject that dives into this a little bit further, but I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's something that's going to happen overnight. I'm not even saying it's something that you may have even thought about before now. This may be the first time you've thought about it since you're hearing this. But it's all about just acknowledging that I'm not the only person in the room. If I say I care about my family, it's more than one person in my family. How does my behavior affect them? How do my actions affect them? When I talk to them, do I talk to them in a space of love? Do I talk to them with a space of empathy? Do I try to be understanding? Do I try to come from a place where I just want happiness in the room, And that's where I come from. I just want everybody to be happy and have a good time. And I think, I think some people can attest to that's how I try to show up in a positive space. If I'm not, then, I'm open to conversations about someone's perception of me and how we can get on the same page. But ultimately, it has to be a joint effort and a conscious effort, an intentional effort, an effort of changing the mindset. Because if not, it's going to stay the same. So the next thing is one that I think is super important that I've seen, I'll admit, in my own family. I see it on TV. I see it on social media. I see it everywhere. And this is something I'm about to go into in regards to generational curses. It's not easy to do. So just to lay it out on the line, breaking generational curses, breaking that curse. I don't have children, so I'm just going to speak candidly from what I know of having nieces and nephews and seeing things in my family and online and things like that. But kids being able to break the generational curse of not being able to talk to their parents about anything. So I want to say a couple of things. It is hard if you are a parent that has to sit through a conversation with your child and the child is not attacking you, but the child is just telling you their truth, that their experience of you, parts of their experience of you, or the whole thing, I don't know, but their experience of you, whether it's the whole thing or a little bit, that they've had some negative experiences. And many times in their own healing process, in their own understanding process, in their own process of trying to move forward and move past it and create a happy and healthy relationship, part of that process is being able to come to the person, i.e. the parent, and have a conversation just to express how they feel, and for it to be a safe space where the parent can receive it and not feel attacked, not attack the kid back, not make the kid feel bad, not make the kid feel like they did anything wrong, but just receive the message, process it, internalize it, and try to move forward with that child with a different mindset, accepting what was, but that I'm going to do better. Now, pause. It is not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. I'm not saying it cannot be done, because personally, I know like in relationships or in real life, I'm not really a person to ask people like, okay, so, what do you think about that performance? So what do you think about this? I don't really like soliciting feedback on myself because I don't know what a person may say. And if they say something negative, I don't know how I may receive that. It's hard to hear bad things about yourself. We're human. It is hard to hear bad things. So I get it from like the parent's perspective that it's really hard to hear things that are not lovely about yourself. But we have to work on allowing it to be done, because there are too many times when you have people walking around and you may be working on creating that generational wealth, or you may be working on breaking those generational curses. But if you are dealing with a parent and a child, and there is a barrier in between you because the child feels like something has happened or is happening that has hurt them by the parent, they are forever going to struggle with anything that that parent is doing and saying as they get older, that many times mirrors what they went through when they were younger if the situation is stopped. So we'll just say if it's something that as you were growing up, you dealt with because you were in a child's place and you've reached the age, I'll just say 20 plus, where now you have a voice, you have tapped possibly into therapy, you are in a healing space, you want to confront your issues of your past, your demons, whatever you want to call them. And part of that is having to have a conversation with a parent that may not want to receive it. Parents, we have to do better with trying to receive that message, because if not, all this is out the window. Ain't no breaking generational curses. And because we also teaching you I think the kids know at this point to not do that, but for some, everybody don't operate the same. You could be teaching them to not confront their issues, not deal with their issues, just brush it to the side. And the thing is, I think in these situations, anytime, even if it's a parent and a child or whatever the case may be, if somebody is coming to you, it's all about the approach. And I have an episode coming up on Healing is a Journey about this, but it's about on both sides. It's about the approach. It's about the timing. It's about how you say it. It's about prepping, almost like prefacing the person, because you can't just roll up on a person after work like, yeah, I need to talk to you. I'm going to tell you did this. It can't roll like that, and it can't be like in a fit of anger when you're mad. You got to let it out. I would recommend to people that want to have those conversations to set the scene up. You got to go through and figure out what that looks like, to preface it, to prepare. And the hope is that you're going to deal with somebody who can, as I said earlier, come with a space of openness, compassion, empathy, and understanding, and realize that even if a child tells you that, mom or dad, you did some things that I really wasn't a fan of growing up, and now that I'm an adult, I just want to express to you that that was hurtful, or that upset me, or I didn't like that. It's not saying that you weren't doing the best you can. It's not saying you were a terrible person. It's not saying you are a bad mom of the year. But I'm just telling you my experience of you. I'm telling you my truth so I can release that and move on, because the hope, I'm sure with many people when they tell a parent that, is the parent at some point, again, it's not easy. May not happen overnight. It takes time. They're hoping that the parent can say, Shayna, I hear you. Shayna, I understand. Shayna, if necessary, I do apologize that I hurt you. I apologize I made you feel that way. That wasn't my intention. But now that you told me, I want to make sure that going forward, I don't do those same things, because the other side of breaking generational curses is understanding that, again, it's a different generation. As kids get older, these kids are different, i.e. me, my generation and all. They operate in different spaces. They got to speak their peace. They got to speak their mind. It's no longer go along to get along. And my thing is this, I do feel like when it comes to, respecting the elders, you have to keep the respect there. And some things that our elders and ancestors put in place need to remain. Some levels, of respect. I don't feel like everything needs to be questioned and everything needs to be pushed back on, But, we had a situation one time, my family was in town, and one of the younger kids, I say in the 20s, was asked to go get some eggs, and they didn't want to do it. And so I ended up going to the store to get the eggs, but it was just like, the hierarchy. I know that growing up, had those kids not been here, my mom would have said, Shayna, go get the eggs. I might have smacked my teeth on the way out the door, but I was going to get the eggs. It's like, talk shit under your breath, just go do it. And so I think that sometimes with those traditions, I think some of those should stay in place, that hierarchy of parents or grandparents asking you to do something. You go along, you do it, even if you don't feel like it. Those are kind of things I think should stay in place. But outside, and I'm sure there's some other things, but outside of that, we are a generation, I think it's okay to ask, like, why did you do that? And you can give the child some understanding, because sometimes that's all people need, is that and it may just be that I did the best I could. That's what I knew. Nobody had taught me any different, but now that you're telling me, I'll know going forward. It's all about just the open dialogue and conversation. And that's one of the biggest generational curses we gotta break, is our mindset, our communication, our openness, our honesty, and all doing it with a level of compassion, empathy, and understanding, because it's no longer okay. You would have things growing up where people, back in the day when folks would raise a child that was really like, it might have been your mom, but if they said it was your aunt or your sister, and somebody get mad and just, blurt something out, that's why that's your mom anyway, that's why that's your, something like that. You hear stories about that. And it's like, we live in a space now where stuff like that is not okay. And we don't want to live in spaces where we have to keep secrets like that, or where we have to have things on our chest or things on our heart. And we cannot express it to the person that's right there in front of us, that just the conversation could make us feel better. So I want to say again, parents, I know it's not easy. And people and families, not just parents, but when somebody has to come to you and tell you something that you've done to hurt them or hurt their feelings or they didn't like, we all have to do a better job with being able to receive that message, because many times what you see is a kid tells a parent or somebody tells someone something they did that they just was not a good experience for them, and immediately they go into defense mode. Immediately they, it's attack mode. And if you want to see generational curses broken, it really just cannot be that way. So I just think overall we have to think about that. How you talk to people and what you say to people and what you're telling people, that's the same thing. So, what you say, how you say it does matter. Even if you think it doesn't, and you want to still talk crazy to people, go sit in a corner and don't talk to nobody. The other side, it's just like that mindset. We have to change it. The other thing, we have to understand we can't single-handedly destroy families and the goals and desires that we have for them if we make every time we come around, it's an environment of chaos. It's not love. It's not fun. You have moments. You may have this moment of fun or love or joy, but at the same time, it could easily flip over, where somebody gets mad or somebody gets an attitude, or people are going into situations not knowing what the outcome is going to be because they already know when they're showing up, they coming into a space with some people that might possibly start beefing by the end of the day. And who wants to deal with that? Grow up. That's what that is. Because I always feel like after a certain age, what you fighting with somebody about is too much joy, love, happiness, and peace in the world to still be fighting with people about that stuff. And then the last part, uncomfortable conversations. I know people in my family who run from uncomfortable conversations. But if you want to have healing, if you really want to break generational curses, if you really want to live up to be the things that our ancestors truly desired for us, you got to stand in those uncomfortable conversations. And guess what? After you stand in them, if you do the work, because I told you it's hard work, if you do the work to stand in them, you then after that have to actually change the behavior. So it comes down to overall just change behavior, doing things differently, understanding that you will not break any generational curses if you continue to show up as the problem. And you can be a problem and create generational wealth, but nobody's gonna give a damn about that generational wealth. If the type of time that you own is the type of time where it's like how I feel about some of my exes, they could show up to the door with a check from Ed McMahon for $1 million. You can keep it if it means I gotta talk to you. And so that's the energy that some of y'all are putting your families on. Like, you want to create all this big business, you want to do all these things, you got the ability to make all these thousands of millions of dollars, and it's like it's dirty money because of how you operate. So my hope is that you all can take something from this and just change that mindset, change the way that you operate, change the way you talk to people, change the way that you think when it comes to other people. Like, it truly does come down to in that regard, like thinking before you speak and thinking about how the person on the receiving end of the words that are coming out of your mouth or the text that you're about to send, how they are going to receive it. Like, an emoji goes a long way, a happy emoji. Or just thinking about it, it's a nice way to explain things. In this society, we do get hung up on no being a complete sentence. I think no is a complete sentence in regards to if somebody's trying to force you to do something, forcibly be in a relationship with them, forcibly take them somewhere, forcibly whatever. Somebody trying to force it on you. But if somebody just asking you something, somebody just suggesting something, somebody just talking to you, it don't hurt to add a little bit of explanation on it. It don't hurt to give them a little understanding as to if the answer no is to why I can't do this because this I would love to, but this, it don't hurt to just be nice, have empathy, have compassion. And if y'all ain't getting nothing else from this, if y'all walk away from this video and you don't get nothing from it, I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, that's all I got. Signing off, yours truly, Shanna Montana.